Penn State takes on Ohio State, 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff at Ohio State. The Buckeyes are minus 19, totals at 57.5. Now we're seeing steady movement toward Ohio State in the early wagering. We also saw movement downward on the total. So once again, the Buckeyes are minus 19. Total open 59, down to 57.5. 51% of the consensus are leaning toward Ohio State. 72% shaded toward the over. And right now, the Nittany Lions are plus 800 on the money line. Now, Penn State's 9-1 straight up on the year, 6-1 in conference play. They've also successfully covered the number in their last 3 games on the road. They rank in the top 10 in points allowed, top 5 in rush yards allowed. Yetur Gross-Matos, 6.5 sacks on the year, 30 tackles. Micah Parsons, 75 tackles for him, 2 sacks and a forced fumble. Castro Fields, Reed, and Brisker all have 2 interceptions apiece. This Penn State squad, they rank the top 3 in points allowed on the road, top 10 in yards per play allowed on the road as well. Keep an eye on Hamler and Sullivan Brown, however. They are both listed as questionable for Penn State. Now, the Nittany Lions, they also rank top 15 in scoring, top 40 in passing. Sean Clifford has thrown for over 2,400 yards on the season, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And of course, like I just mentioned, keep an eye on KJ Hamler as he is listed as questionable. He's responsible for 791 yards receiving this year, 8 touchdowns. He's averaging 17 yards per reception. And the big tight end, Pat Freiermuth, 34 catches, 424 yards, 7 touchdowns for the big guy. Penn State known for very good, big, physical, and effective tight ends. Anyway, Ohio State on the other side, they are 59th in passing yards allowed at home. They failed to cover against Rutgers and Florida Atlantic this year. They have a whole bunch of guys on the injury report. We got, of course, a major player coming off some suspension, so I'm sure he'll be ready. But he's been cold the past week or so. But anyway, we have Cooper, Vincent, Browning, Crowley, Mack, Novick, and Hamilton all listed as questionable. This Ohio State squad, 3 out of their last 6 fell under the total. They're also 60% to the under at home. Meanwhile, Penn State on the other side, they are 3-0 to the under when traveling. I think Penn State should keep it within 19 points. I'm going to lean Nittany Lions plus 19 and the under 57.5 in that game. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for college football week 13. The season is almost over already. I can't believe it. It certainly flew by. Now, before we get into our next couple of games here, I just want to quickly remind you to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are hitting at 65% for the entire college football season on that website. Now, what we do is daily premium selections, premium plays on that site, and I'll give you a little bit more information about that site at the end of this video. But once again, we are hitting at 65% in our college football picks on that website. Link for that site is in the description section below. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. But I have some more information for you about that website at the end of this video. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some more lines and personal leans right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Boston College taking on the Fighting Irish. 2:30 Eastern kickoff, Notre Dame. The Irish are minus 17. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. The Irish are minus 19, totals at 64. We saw a 1-point fade of Notre Dame and movement upward on the total. The Irish open 20, down to minus 19, total open 63, up to 64. 67% of the consensus are leaning toward Notre Dame, 56% shaded toward the under. Right now, Boston College is plus 850 on the money line. BC's also lost 4 out of their last 6 games. They failed to cover in 2 out of their last 3 as well. They ranked 96th in passing, 102nd in offensive time of possession. They failed to cover against the likes of Florida State, Kansas, and Richmond this year. They're 98th in points allowed, 125th in pass yards allowed. Meanwhile, Ian Book on the other side for Notre Dame. What can you say about him? He's thrown for over 2,200 yards on the year, 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Chase Claypool, that's one of his favorite targets. 49 catches on the year, 768 total yards, 9 touchdown receptions for Claypool. Now Notre Dame's 8-2 straight up in the year, 2-0 against the number in their last couple of games. They're also 6-3 ATS in their last 9. They rank in the top 15 in home scoring, top 30 in home passing, top 25 in yards per play allowed at home. Owusu Koromoa, 5.5 sacks for him on the year. Kyle Hamilton, 3 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, and 32 tackles for Hamilton. Now, total-wise, Notre Dame 60% to the over at home. BC 80% to the over for the season. I'm going to lean toward the home chalk in this one. Give me the Notre Dame Fighting Irish minus 19 and the over 64 in that game. All right, next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Michigan taking on Indiana. And that is going to be, is that on our board here? There we go. Michigan taking on Indiana, 3:30 Eastern kickoff at Indiana. The Wolverines are minus 9, totals 53. We saw a 1.5-point move toward Michigan and movement upward on the total. The Wolverines open they open 7.5 up to minus 9. Total open 51.5 up to 53. 61% are leaning Michigan, 84% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Hoosiers are plus 305 on the money line. Now, if you like the Hoosiers in this matchup here, just keep in mind they're taking on a Michigan squad who's 8-2 straight up on the year. One of those losses came to a very strong Penn State squad. They're also 6-1 against the spread in their last 7. They've been covering machines as of late. They rank in the top 15 in points allowed, top 5 in pass yards allowed. This defense is amongst the best in the entire country. Ambry Thomas and Lavert Hill have 3 interceptions apiece. Josh Uche, 7.5 sacks on the year, and Kwity Paye, 5.5 sacks for him. Now Michigan, they're top 3 in yards allowed per play, top 20 in rush yards allowed. So like I said, the story of this Michigan squad is that defense. They do have weapons on offense. I understand that, but this defense has really been anchoring this team. Now, Indiana on the other side, they failed to cover against the likes of Maryland and Ball State this year. They rank 102nd in rushing, 61st in offensive scoring. They lost to Michigan State this year, 40-31. They gave up a 40-burger to Sparty. Meanwhile, Michigan just, shutting Sparty down, really dominating in that game. Now, total-wise, Indiana, 75% to the under at home. Michigan, top 15 in yards per play allowed on the road. I'm going to lean Michigan Wolverines, minus 9, and the under 53 in that matchup there. Next game, Texas taking on Baylor, 3:30 McLean Stadium. The Bears of Baylor are minus 5.5 at home. Totals at 59. Now, we did see a 0.5 point move toward Baylor and movement downward on the total. The Bears open as the 5-point favorite. They're now minus 5.5. Total open 59.5, down to 59 even. 56% of the consensus are leaning toward Baylor. 52% shaded toward the under. Right now, the Longhorns are plus $1.85 on the money line. Now, Baylor ranks 57th in passing yards allowed. They're also 106th in defensive time of possession. And whenever you get into numbers like that, you have a very tired and worn out defensive line and linebackers. Now, they failed to cover against West Virginia, Texas Tech, and Rice University this year. They're also 96th in offensive time of possession at home, 94th in pass yards allowed at home as well. Now, the Longhorns on the other side, what can I say about them? 15th in offensive passing. They rank in the top 20 in scoring. They successfully covered the number in 4 out of their 6 games away from home. They're also top 25 in passing on the road. And, of course, Sam Ehlinger, he's been the story for those guys this year. He's completing 65% of his passes, nearly 3,000 yards on the year already, 27 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And he's getting it done on the ground as well. Ehlinger is rushed for 473 yards on the ground. He also has 4 rushing touchdowns, so that is 31 total touchdowns for Sam Ehlinger. Now, Devin Duvernay, he's one of his favorite targets. He has over 1,000 yards receiving already on the year, 7 touchdown receptions, 87 receptions on the season. And, of course, Texas successfully covered the number over the likes of Iowa State and Oklahoma. Now, total-wise, Texas is 60% to the over for this season. Meanwhile, Baylor, 60% to the over in their last 5. They're also 3-2 to the over at McLean Stadium. I'm going to purchase the 0.5 point, buy it up, and lean toward the road dog in this one. Give me Texas plus 6 and the over 59 in that game. And I'm going to slide to my next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Aggies Bulldogs, 3:30 Georgia. The Bulldogs are minus 13, totals 44.5. We saw a half a point fade of Georgia and movement downward on the total. Georgia opened 13.5 down to minus 13. Total opened 46.5 down to 44 and a hook. 57% are leaning Bulldogs, 52% shaded toward the under. Right now the Aggies are plus 450 on the money line. The Aggies have also failed to cover in 4 out of their last 7. They failed to cover against the likes of Texas San Antonio this year and Arkansas. They're just 4-6 against the number overall for the year, and they failed to cover in 3 out of their 4 games away from home. Texas A&M ranks 86th in road scoring, 105th in rushing on the road. They also rank 104th in yards per play. Now the Bulldogs on the other side, they're right in the middle of a 4-game winning streak. They're 9-1 straight up overall for the year. They also successfully covered the number in their last 3 straight. They're 5-3 against the spread in their last 8 as well. The Bulldogs rank 25th in rushing. They're in the top 15 in offensive time of possession, top 30 in yards per play. Jake Fromm is completing 65% of his passes, 16 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. Efficiency is the name of the game when you're talking about Jake Fromm. Now, DeAndre Swift. He's a man amongst boys. Swift out of Philadelphia, St. Joe's Prep. He's rushed for over 1,000 yards on the year already. He's averaging 6.3 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns on the ground for Swift. And right behind him is Brian Harrion, who's averaging 5.1 yards per carry. He's got 5 touchdowns on the ground as well. Now, when it comes to this passing game, Cager and Pickens, they have 4 touchdown receptions apiece. This Georgia defense is ranking top 3 in points allowed in the country. They're also top 3 in rush yards allowed, top 5 in yards allowed per play. Of course, Azeez Ojulari, 4.5 sacks. Richard LeCount, 2 picks, 2 fumble recoveries. And Big Monty Rice leading the charge in the tackle department. He's got 66 tackles, 30 of those being solo. Now, Georgia has pitched 3 shutouts on the year already, and their defense is giving up just 7 points per contest in their last 4 on average. Now, total-wise, Georgia 5-0 to the under in their last 5. They're also 80% to the under overall for the year. Meanwhile, Texas A&M 60% to the under themselves, 3-1 to the under when traveling. I'm going to lean toward the Bulldogs in this matchup here. Give me Georgia minus 13 and the under 44.5 in that game. All right, guys, let's go ahead and slide into our quick pick recap brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are hitting at 65% for the entire college football season on that website. I like Georgia minus 13, under 44.5. Texas plus 6, over 59. Michigan minus 9, under 53. Notre Dame minus 19, over 64. And last but certainly not least, I like Penn State plus 19 and the under 57.5 in that game. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Once again, don't forget to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are currently hitting at 65% for the entire college football season. We're also 9-4 in our last 3 board member package plays. Now, what we do on that website is we do daily plays, daily premium selections on that site, beginning at just $1.99 per month. We have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. Now, a lot of folks will ask me, Brock, what's the difference between your program right here on YouTube and what you do on Patreon? Well, what we do here on YouTube is typically we handicap every single game on the board, both the side and the total, especially in professional sports. And if you were to bet your hard-earned money that way, betting every single game available, you're going to lose in the long run. It may not be quick, but it eventually is going to happen. The books are too smart. They're too sharp. The math is always going to be against you. So it's very difficult. It's impossible to make money that way. So what we do on Patreon is we really focus on 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're high percentage selections. They're personal selections of mine, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much: my current record on Patreon is a lot better than it is on YouTube. And you can actually check out my current record on Patreon for free. You can do that right now. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. That's going to be right on the homepage, and that is patreon.com/BrockPage. YouTube.com/Brock Page. But most importantly, guys, I got to thank you for tuning in right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Wednesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I'll see you on Patreon.com/Brock Page.